This is how you create an assignment for your classroom. Classroom assignments and assessments are only assigned by a teacher to their own class, and only the teacher views the data for that assignment or assessment. On the left-hand menu, click Assignments, then click New Assignment. We're going to author a test. Now, you've got some options here. You can build from scratch, you can use Smart Build, or use AI. For this video, we're going to use Smart Build because I want you to know how to choose things from the library that Pear Assessment has to offer. The first thing I'm going to do is name my draft. I'm just going to call this a sample test since it's not a real test that's going to be given. And then I'm going to go down and select the number of items that I want. I'm just going to go with 6. Again, this is just an example. And then I'm going to choose the collection where I want to get my standards from. So I'm just going to choose Pear Assessment Certified, and then I'm going to select the standards that I want. For this example, I am going to go grade 7. So it gives me the 7th grade standards, and then I'm just going to pick the first standard. And I'm just going to go with these two. You, of course, would make your choice based on what you needed to assess for your class at that time. Now, for the difficulty levels, you can choose whatever you'd like. I'm just going to leave it at all levels and then hit Save. Now, you can add more sections to the test if you want more standards, but we're going to just move on. So I'm going to go to review these questions, and you can view the question as a student. That way you can see what they look like to your students. I am no judge of math questions, so I'm going to pretend that all of these are great. I'm going to exit my preview. Next, we're going to edit the settings. There are quite a bit of settings here, so I'm going to go through these slowly. The first thing you need to do is choose the test type. You'll notice when you click this drop-down menu, Common Assessment is not an issue because you're doing a classroom assessment. So even if you create a classroom assessment and share it with your PLC partner and they assign the same one, your data will not be linked. It must be assigned as a common assessment in order for the whole grade level multiple teachers' data to be combined. So for this, we're just going to choose class assessment. The next one is whether you want test instructions. You can add specific instructions. I'm going to leave that off. You might choose to do that. Allow text-to-speech for passage? Yes. Or no if you don't want to. Release scores. I'm going to put release scores only. This is your choice, however you're going to use the assessment. Then you're going to go down to evaluation method. You can decide to give partial credit, all or nothing. That's your choice. If you want the assessment to be marked as done after it is finished, that you can click automatically. I would leave that, but that's up to you. If you're doing a KSA-like assessment and you want to start to get the students used to being timed, you can do a timed test. You can change the attempts allowed. You can allow them to check their answer before moving on to the next question. That might be good for practice instead of a test. And then now we're getting into the student tools. I'm going to choose scientific calculator, and then it allows you to choose the state calculator, the one that would be on the Kentucky State Assessment. You can have a rubric for students if you'd like. You can show hints to students. You can add a reference material, and I'm doing a math assessment, but you might need a reference material for any subject. And then you're in accessibility. Do you want a magnifier? Do you have students that need it to be enlarged? A scratch pad for them to show their work. You might like that as a math teacher. Show skip alert. If they accidentally skip a question, you can turn that on. Now we're going to get down to accommodations. So probably what's going to happen is your school is going to have an admin that goes in and sets all of these accommodations at a student level. So someone is going to look at IEPs or 504s and decide who needs an immersive reader, who needs text-to-speech. And the immersive reader actually does have a translator as well, and it has more languages. I would stick with those instead of the stacked translation that's in beta. If you wanted to enable that, it would mean that your whole class would have that. So I don't know that that's a good idea. Again, an admin will set these at the student level. You can shuffle items. You can then shuffle your answer choice. And you can set a test password. There might be a circumstance where you have students that are trying to take this test at home. They're absent that day, and you only want the students in class to be able to take it, so you give them a password. That's how you might use that. If you want them to complete the test before they leave class and not be able to get back into it the next day, you can do that by turning this on. You can turn this restrict question navigation on, but that means they're not going to be able to go back to look at previous questions. And then there's some other settings that you can look at, some miscellaneous ones here. And those are all your settings. Now you're going to save your assessment. You want to make sure everything is saved as a draft. And then you're going to publish it. So now my test is published, and I am going to assign it. In the assignment settings, I'm going to choose which class I want to assign it to. So I'm just going to pick the algebra classes because the 6th grade math class does not need to take a 7th grade assessment. And then if I want to assign it to specific students versus all students. So if you're doing differentiation or you have some students that just need to get to mastery and maybe everyone doesn't need to do the practice, but you would like them to do some more practice, you can do that. And opening and closing dates, I would keep those pretty broad, just like you do in Canvas. When you close an assignment, then it's gone. So if you have kids that are absent, in order to give them time to make it up, you would want to leave those open. And then you can actually change this, and you can change it to close manually. It's pretty much your choice on those. And then if you want them to be able to take it anytime or weekdays, or you can set a custom time that you want the students to take it. And then you can choose tags, but I haven't used them. I don't think you'll need them. And then you're going to click assign. And when you assign this assessment, it's going to automatically send it to Canvas as long as you have synced your classes.